Or let the record reflect all our jurors are back in their seats. Ms. Ellis.
Thank you, Your Honor. Permission to approach?
Yes, ma'am.
And Your Honor, same objection.
Thank you. Overruled. Thank you.
So I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 35, 36, 37, and 38, now that I have them in numerical order. And sir, without telling the jury what those are, can you identify them?
Yes.
And how can you identify those photos?
They're photographs that I took.
And are you familiar with the subject of matter of that photograph?
Yes.
And what kind of equipment did you use to capture these photos?
This is the Photographic system.
And can you describe what a Photographic system is?
Yes, it's a software that's developed that connects to a digital camera. When you take a photograph, it actually sends the saves that picture and then puts it in a report.
And does this, do these pictures accurately depict what you saw looking through the lens?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time the state would like to introduce states number 35, 36, 37, and 38 into evidence.
Same objection.
Thank you. The objection's overruled. The State's Exhibits 35, 36, 37, and 38 are admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Permission to have them published to the jury.
That is allowed.
Thank you. Now, sir, you stated that you were looking through these phones and you were able to find the contact Los on the Hawaii phone, or I'm going to pronounce that wrong.
It's the Huawei phone.
Huawei phone?
Yes.
And were you able to find messages that were sent from and received from those phones?
Yes, I did find text messages that were sent and received between the Huawei phone and the ZTE phone.
Now I'm going to turn your attention to State's Exhibit number 35. If you could put that on the overhead element. Permission to approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Sir, I'm going to ask you to just kind of run down and please use your finger or pen to point out what we're looking at here on this exhibit.
This is an entry that was in the call log on the ZTE cell phone. This is actually an outgoing call. You see this little icon here, it shows it is an outgoing call that was placed on December 18th at 10:21 in the morning, and the duration of the call was 37 seconds.
And what number was dialed?
5478 ** 7807 * 4569 #123.
And show us how we can read this. How do you know the date that it was taken?
Date and time is here.
And if you could, just because this is actually being recorded by the court reporter who can't know what here is, if you could be a little bit more descriptive.
Yes, it's at the top of the screen, the phone screen, underneath the view. There's the date, which is 12/18.
And does it also show the time?
Yes, the time is 10:21 a.m.
And where will we find the duration of the call?
The duration is just under the date and time, and it shows that the duration was 37 seconds.
And when I asked you what number was dialed, you gave me a string of numbers. Can you tell me how you knew that?
That number is shown underneath. The name is an unknown user, so it shows that the phone number does not show up in the phone's contacts, and it is at the bottom of the screen on the phone.
Thank you. I'm going to now ask you to turn your attention to State's Exhibit number 36.
Yes, ma'am.
And can you show us what we're looking at in exhibit number 36?
Yes, this is a incoming text message to the ZTE cell phone. It has the phone number that was dialed and the name from the contacts in the ZTE phone listed. It's a little bruh at the phone number 919-519-3289. It shows that the date and time that the message was received was December 18th, 2012 at 1:45 a.m. and then it has the content of the text.
Could you tell me what that time was again?
Yes, it is 10:45 a.m.
10:45 a.m.?
Yes.
And how can you tell that that was an incoming text?
When I took the pictures of the phone through the Fernico system, it puts the different pictures into categories, and this was from the incoming text messages. And on the cell phone, if you go through the menu, it actually has different menus for the incoming and outgoing text.
Thank you. And what does this particular incoming text message read?
It reads, "Run towards Kelly House. Go run through the woods. Hurry."
Thank you. And I'm going to turn your attention to State's Exhibit number 37. If you could put that up on the screen. And can you tell us what we're looking at here?
This is another incoming text message from the ZTE phone. It has the same contact name and the same phone number of Little Bruh, 919-519-3289. The date and time for this text message is December 18th, 2012. The time is 11 a.m.
And the message?
The content of the text is "Stop making calls."
And now during your investigation of this, were you able to find out who owned that Cricket phone that these messages were coming in from?
That these messages were from, they were from the Huawei phone, and that was Ladarius Riley.
I'm going to turn your attention to State's Exhibit number 38. Now, can you tell me what we're looking at in this message, the date and time?
Yes, this is another incoming text message on a ZTE phone. It is from the contact Little Bruh at 919-519-3289. The date and time for this one is December 18, 2012 at 11:58 a.m. The text message content is take your battery out, delete all text, nigga, love ya. If you turn yourself in, go with PO or something, they might shoot ya. I lost you to some dumb shit.
Your Honor, that would be all the questions that the state has for McFadden. And I apologize, I keep calling him. I do have one more question. How long have I known you?
For approximately 10 years now.
And what were you when I first met you?
I was an officer then.
Thank you, Your Honor. I apologize for calling Officer McFadden, Officer McFadden.
Thank you. Mr. Charles, cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Do we know each other?
I don't believe so.
Okay. And you understand that Mr. Riley was trying to turn himself in, wasn't he?
I do not know. I did not have any contact with him on this date.
And were you monitoring the radio, the police band on that morning, or receiving information?
I do not have a radio also.
I may have a moment, Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Jones.
That would be my questions for Mr. McFadden at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any questions on redirect?
No questions on redirect, Your Honor.
Thank you. You'll gather the exhibits together, please, Mr. McFadden. You are free to take.
Thank you. Permission to approach the clerk with the exhibits?
Yes, ma'am. Pardon me, exhibits, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, we'll call T.M. Jones to the stand.
Place your left hand on the Bible. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall now give the court in the case now being heard shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Could you please introduce yourself to the jury? Tell them your name.
My name is Tanisha Jones.
And could you spell that for the court reporter?
Tanesha, Tanisha, Jones, Jones.
Thank you, ma'am. And could you tell me how you are currently employed?
I am currently employed with the City of Durham as a crime scene investigator with the Forensic Service Division of Durham Police Department.
And how long have you held that position?
I have held that position for almost 5 years in September.
And what did you do before you were a crime scene investigator with Durham City?
Before I was a crime scene investigator for the City of Durham, I was a fraud investigator for the Discover Card Services for 10 years.
Which do you like best?
They both have their perks.
And ma'am, can you tell me what type of training, tell the jury what type of training that you've been through to receive this job as a Durham crime scene investigator?
I have an associate's degree in forensics Actually, I have an associate's degree in applied science with a concentration in forensics. I have a bachelor's degree in criminology, and I currently am working on a master's degree in criminal justice, which I will complete in December.
Congratulations. And where did you go to undergraduate?
I went to Ohio State University, the Ohio State University.
And we still like each other, right?
We do, yes.
And you said you're just completing your master's. Where are you doing that?
At North Carolina Central University.
And your master's degree, what is the concentration for that?
Criminal justice.
And ma'am, can you tell me any classes that you took in processing crime scenes?
In my associate's degree, all of the courses that I took beyond science-based were crime scene oriented. So I took crime scene processing, photography, latent print processing, latent crime scene collection. I've taken also numerous training courses within my job for crime scene processing. I've taken over 800 hours of training as a crime scene investigator with Durham.
Thank you, ma'am. And can you tell me what your standard operating procedure is for how you process a crime scene?
My standard operating procedures for processing a crime scene is that when I arrive on scene, I normally come in contact with the investigator or the officer that has also responded to the scene. We go over basically a synopsis of what has occurred or what the evidence show or what the officer has found. We do a walkthrough of the scene to show what the evidence or what the scene looks like, what it appears as it is. Then I would photograph the scene as I see it, or in some circumstances I may do a video. I may do video of the scene first, and then I'll do photographs. And then if there's obvious evidence, then I will mark that evidence with evidence placards or things like that, and then I'll photograph that evidence in detail. And then after that, I'll do another search of the scene for additional evidence. And sometimes when there may not be obvious evidence, I'll do additional processing like alternative light sources, or I'll collect DNA from certain areas where I think that the suspect may have been or may have touched. I may process for latent prints on certain areas for that same presumption that the person may have touched that area or they may have been in that place.
Now, did you respond to a scene involving Investigator Stewart on 12/18/2012?
I did.
And can you tell me where that scene was that you initially responded to?
I responded to Forest Road. I went to 1619 Forest Road.
And why did you respond then?
I was dispatched by, our dispatching service, communications. And I was advised to respond to that location because I was requested by the investigator that forensics was needed there.
And do you recall who that investigator was?
Yes, Corporal McMaster.
And is that gentleman in the courtroom here today?
Yes, he is.
And can you identify him?
He is the gentleman sitting at the end of your table.
And ma'am, when you arrived on scene, could you tell me what you observed?
When I arrived on scene, there was a gray SUV at the beginning of the complex. So the entranceway of the complex, there was a gray SUV pointing toward the complex. So if you drive into the complex, there's a road, and so the SUV was actually facing the apartment complex, and the blue lights of the SUV were flickering in the back of the SUV. The doors were closed. Proceeding past the SUV, the lights in front of the SUV, so the red and blue lights of the SUV were also flickering. There was a white like blanket or tile to the right of the SUV further down towards the building of the apartment complex. There was some sort of like speed bump in between the road and the vehicle and the apartment building to the right, and I want to say that might have been apartment 1600, but I'll need to look at the actual map to confirm that. But then the road kind of curved to the right a little bit, and that road had a kind of like a square where you could maybe park cars, but it wasn't a long parking lot. It kind of like squared off a little bit, and in that area there was some evidence. There was a pair of eyeglasses, a chain, one tennis shoe, a gun holster, a cell phone, and a baseball cap in that area. And there was another blanket also in that area. There was a white blanket in that area.
Now, while you were there on the scene, was Kelly Stewart there on the scene as well?
No, he was not.
And why was he not on the scene?
He had already been transported to Duke ER.
And did you note the weather on that day?
In my notes, it states that it was rainy and cloudy.
And after you did your walkthrough, permission to approach, Your Honor, with State's Exhibit number 39.
Yes, ma'am.
It's going to be 39A, Your Honor.
Your Honor, may I approach briefly with counsel?
Yes.
Your Honor, permission to approach what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 39A.
Black.
Thank you.
Ms. Jones, do you can you identify that exhibit?
Yes.
And how can you identify that exhibit?
This exhibit is the sketch that I completed as a part of the I completed a rough sketch on scene, and this is the product of the rough sketch I completed on scene.
And tell me about how you produced that from a rough sketch.
We have a digital system that we use at our office. It's a computerized system, and we basically draw out what our rough sketch is. So kind of basically make it look better for someone who was not on scene.
And when you do your rough sketches, how do you know that this is the rough sketch that goes with this case?
Well, it has the report number. Before I leave the scene, I write the report number, the address, and some of the information, the date, and the street, and the information from what I documented on scene onto the paper.
And what case is this?
This, according to this paper, this is report number 120-39721.
Thank you. And how do you know that that is the sketch that you prepared?
It has my name on it, crime scene investigator Jones 17183, which is my employee number.
Now, ma'am, does that does the software that you have any limitations to rendering a fair and accurate depiction of the crime scene that you see?
Yes, it does. I mean, it's just it's not to scale, obviously, and it gives you an idea of what it looks like. It's not exact.
And are you able to use this exhibit to illustrate your testimony here today?
I am.
Your Honor, at this time I'd like to introduce State Exhibit number 39A into evidence for illustrative purposes.
No objection from the defense.
Thank you. State's Exhibit 39A is admitted for illustrative purposes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, ma'am, after you made this sketch, and can you tell me what you did next?
After I made the sketch?
Or after you did your walkthrough, what, if anything, did you do next?
After I did my walkthrough and I identified the obvious evidence, I did a video of the scene. Once I did the video of the scene, I then did photographs of the scene. After the photographs of the scene was done, I went back and I marked the evidence that I found with evidence markers. Once I've done that, I went ahead and measured from the front left side of the vehicle, which would have been the driver's side of the vehicle, to where the center of where all of the evidence was. And then I marked that on my sketch, which was approximately 177 feet from the front left side of the vehicle to the center of where all the evidence was.
Now, you stated that the rough sketch that you did and the finalized sketch that you have now do have some differences. What, if any, are they? Can you explain them to the jury?
Well, the rough sketch is just a visual aid. It's like I stated before, it's not to scale. It's an approximation of where the evidence is and where the location of the vehicle is. It's just to give you an idea, because the photographs are obviously flat, so it kind of gives you a way, almost like a 3D way of looking at the items.
Okay. Permission to approach the
Yeah.
witness, sir? Okay, you stated that you did some photography at the scene.
That's correct.
And what kind of instrument did you use to take the photographs?
I used a D90 SLR camera, a digital camera.
And did you have any training or experience in using this camera?
Yes, I've taken 120 hours of photography courses to take to photograph crime scenes.
Okay, and who actually took the photographs of the scene this day?
I did.
And how is it that those photos are transferred from your camera to our office?
We use a system called Foray, and it's a digital, oh my God, the name it escapes me. It's a digital asset management system. There it goes. It escaped me for a moment. I'm sorry. And that's where we store all of our photographs. It's secure, so no one else can see them unless they have access to those photographs.
Okay. Commissioner Prochar.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as state's exhibits number 3, 2, 23, 22, 21, and 20. I'm going to put them in numerical order. Ma'am, do you identify these exhibits?
I do.
And how can you identify them?
These exhibits are photographs I took at the scene.
And then do those accurately depict the scenes you recalled on that day?
It does.
Are they altered in any way, shape, or form?
They have not been. No.
Your Honor, at this time I'd like to introduce State's Exhibits number 2, 3, 21, 22, 23, and item number 20 into evidences for substantive purposes.
I really would object. I'm happy to make a speaking objection here or moving forward. That's your honor's wishes.
Thank you. The objection is overruled. Those exhibits 2, 3, 21, 22, 23, and 20. These are the numbers I put down.
Yes, Your Honor, those are the numbers I
Are
have.
admitted as substantive evidence.
Thank you.
State my reasons on the record later, just
Yes.
put it on the list. Thank you. Thank you.
For whatever they purport to show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, could you please, Commissioner Prochar?
Yes.
Now I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 39. marked as State's Exhibit number 39. Can you identify this?
Yes.
And how can you identify that?
That is the enlarged version of of this version of Exhibit 39A.
Thank you. Your Honor, and can this help you in your testimony here today?
Yes.
And Your Honor, permission to introduce State's Exhibit number 39 into evidence?
That is admitted as evidence for illustrative purposes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Permission to have the witness step down to explain the testimony?
It's granted.
Permission to publish each of these exhibits to the jury?
Granted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, ma'am, if you could step down, step over here with me. I'm going to have you look at this. Now, ma'am, could you please explain what we're looking here on your document?
Okay. So if you're entering the apartment complex from the street, this would be the entrance. So what I saw as I'm coming into the apartment complex is this vehicle. So this would be the vehicle that I saw. So the back of the vehicle, you would see the blue lights flickering, and as you walk to the front of the vehicle, you would see the red and blue lights at the top of the vehicle. And as you proceed down the walkway or the drive, this will be the street because this is Forest Road. So as you walk down Forest Road, there was a white blanket. So this indicates the white blanket that you saw or that you would see in the photographs. And this is building 1600, but I marked it as 1619 because that was the address that we were given. And then this is like the grass. This would be the grassy area or trees. So that's what that depicts, that's what that is. And this is how the road curved to the right. And then this would be where other cars could park, but as you can see, it wasn't as far of a parking lot as the rest of the area.
I'm
So
going to
then,
pause you just for one moment and ask that the exhibit be somewhat at an angle to give, let's see, raise your hand on the left side if you can see that exhibit where it is now. If you can't, we'll kind of angle back. What about right side? Can you see it now? Just wanted to do that. Let me let you get right back to your testimony.
Thank you, Your Honor.
okay. And as you proceed down the street, this is where all of the evidence was located. And I indicated the numbers, and so the number 1 would indicate that this was the gun holster, and number 2 indicates that this was the hat or the baseball cap that was located. Number 3 was the cellular phone that was found. Number 4 was the eyeglasses that were found on scene. Number 5 was the chain that was found on scene. Number 6 was the shoe that was found on scene. And again, the triangular white indicates the white blanket. And those white blankets were used to shelter the officer from the media and other spectators until EMS transported him to his location.
Now, you stated that when you were talking that the road curved. Could you explain that a little bit?
Yes. This part of the area was all greenway, so it was this was more like a curve per se. But these areas over here, like this was parking, and so the street kind of went like this, but it was kind of hard to depict that on a computerized system. So I kind of tried to depict it with this kind of curving motion, but the actual road kind of did a curve only on one side. So as you went around the curve, it was you kind of had to go around to actually see. It was a little deeper into the road than it was on this side, so it kind of went that way.
I'm going to show you what's marked as State's Exhibit number 2, and if you could show that to the jury and explain how this measures up or represents this, or is represented on this board.
Okay, so obviously this would be the vehicle that you see, this car, would be the depiction of the vehicle on the map or on the sketch. And this building indicates this area right here. So this is what I'm depicting on this photograph is what I'm depicting right here, this 1619.
Okay, and if I can have you just kind of walk down
Okay.
each and show them kind of what you mean
So
by the curve.
this area right here, it was more of a straightway, as you can see, of the road, but as on this side of the street, it went a more curve to the right. Can you see that? I'll come down there. And obviously the vehicle is the representation of the vehicle that's in the. And if you look, you can see the blue. I don't know if you can see it that far away, but you can see the blue of the flickering of the blue in the photograph. Do you need to see it? I can bring it closer to you. Does anyone else need a closer look of the photograph?
Now I want to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 3. Can you show us how that view is and walk us through with the jury?
So this view will be the front left view of the car. So if you were standing here is what you would see, but it's more of an angle going that way. So you can actually see where the curve starts on the car. So this is the front left tire. And you can see how the road starts to curve to the right.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 20. And can you please explain to us what we're looking at and where this is in relation to State's Exhibit number 39?
Okay. This photograph will be in relation to here. It's going to be a little bit past this area, so it's going to be about here. And so it's already turning the curve of the road. And when you get here, you can kind of sort of see this area of the parking lot or the.
So when you look at this straight on, are you from the original position of the vehicle? Were you
Yeah,
able to see the
if
animal?
you're looking straight on, you're more here than you are here, because if you're in the car, if you're driving here, once you got to a certain point, you couldn't see around the curve, like the curve you couldn't see over here from the car. So you had to get a little bit over. So that's the reason you're in the.
And if you could explain
I'm
that.
sorry. My apologies. So the curve was a little steep around. So this vehicle, the curve kind of went out a little bit. So you would have had to step around to see the other side of the curve. That's the reason that the photograph is a lot closer into the curve than it would have been from the car. So
what are we looking at in this photo?
so I'm in front of the vehicle, but closer to here. So instead of being here where I was in the photograph originally, where you could see the front left tire, I'm now here, like past I'm in front of the speed bump. So in the previous photograph, you can see this speed bump, but now I'm like really close, so I'm like in front of it.
And also,
And you can actually see the shoe. If you look closely, you can see the shoe.
and State's Exhibit number 21, if you can explain what we're looking at here in reference to State's Exhibit 39.
Okay. Now we are here. So now we have moved from here to here, and now we're here. Like we're literally in the center of where all of the evidence is. And So you can see where this, like, this is where all of the evidence was found. And this is how we found it. There's no markers, there's nothing in front of it.
I'm going to ask you to do the same with item number 22.
Okay. This is just a more close-up version of the items, because the picture you just saw is kind of me over, like kind of shooting across it. This is more of a, maybe like a more angled photograph of it, so you can actually see what it is. So this is, I'm more standing here now so that you can see it. So
When you say here, could you?
I'm at this point of the photograph because you can actually see me, the photograph you can actually see over here.
And when you point it over here, I'm just going to ask you to be a little bit
I'm
more
sorry.
clear on the record.
Excuse me. I'm standing to the left of the street and you can actually see towards 16, 15, this building here. So you can see some of this area right here. You can't necessarily see this corner. Is that descriptive from that?
And if you could please tell the jury what we're looking at.
Okay, so now you're going to see more in detail what the items are. So you'll be able to see the hat, the holster, the glasses. You may not be able to see the cell phone because I think it's stacked on top of the hat, but you'll be able to see the shoe and the chain in the photograph. You see the chain and the shoe and the hat and the holster. And those white items on the, that's like medical gauze and things like that. Sorry.
And same with item number 23, if you could show us what we're looking at and where that is in relation to the map on.
This is a close-up of item number 5. So this is going to be a close-up of this item right here.
And what is that item?
This is the chain. And what you want to pay close attention to is this is where it should be closed. As you can see, that's not where it's open.
Thank you. Ma'am, once you took the photographs and the sketch, was there anything else that you were asked to do on the scene?
We collect the items of evidence.
And what, if anything, do you do with the items of evidence once you collect them?
We transport them to our forensic service department and we store them until they're submitted into property.
Okay. And are you familiar with how those items are stored and placed into property?
We store them in a secure area at forensics until they are submitted to a property, which is also stored in a secure location.
Okay. And I want to go back and ask you, were there any other forensic techs on the scene that day?
There were several forensic investigators on scene that day. There was Our supervisor, Allison Hutchins, she was on scene, and there was also a specialist, Heather Madrid.
And do you recall what items that you collected on that day?
On that particular scene, I collected the gun holster, the cellular phone, the hat, the baseball cap, the eyeglasses, the right tennis shoe. I collected a piece of paper actually that was given to me from McMaster, and the chain. If I didn't already say that, I'm sorry.
And what item number was the piece of paper that Mr. McMaster?
That was placed in the property as item number 12.
Now, when we say item numbers, how are the pieces of evidence collected? How are they numbered in your system?
When you're on scene, they're numbered as you find them. So they're chronologically ordered 1 through, if there's 6 items, they're 1 through 6. But what happens is when you go back to your location, the item numbers may change depending on what happens. You may get other evidence, someone else may collect something from another scene, and the chronological order of those items can change. You just need to notate that in your documentation that they have changed. So, the item that I collected from Corporal McMaster is item number 12, although I did collect it from that scene because there were other items that were already labeled up until 12, which is why his was labeled number 12.
States Exhibit number 40. I'm going to show you what's been marked as States Exhibit number 40 and also hand you a sharp object. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm showing you what's been marked as States Exhibit number 40 for the state's case. Ma'am, do you recognize that item?
I do.
And how do you recognize that item?
It is an item that I packaged.
And can you tell the jury how you package items for evidence?
There's an official seal that we have to use as part of Durham Police Department's standard operating procedures. That official seal has to have 5 things on it. It has to have the report number, the item number, the person's employee number and their initials, the date and the time. So this actual item has the item number 12, the report number, my initials, my employee number, the time and the date that I packaged it.
And how do you know that that is the item that you packaged?
It has Tanisha, it has my initials and employee 1783. It also has my handwriting, which I recognize. And it has number 12 paper and my name in the front.
And ma'am, has that been altered or changed in any way since you packaged it?
There are 2 other signatures and official seals on here, so it appears that has been opened twice.
And can you tell me about the procedures for opening it on other occasions?
Yes, if it has been opened, if the seal that you make cannot be re-altered, so someone who opens the paper again has to open it in a different area, reseal it and sign the official seal on it in a different location.
And ma'am, are you able to identify the other seals?
One of them is myself. There was an evidence review and I had to open the seal, so I see that my name is on here twice. And the other seal is someone I do not recognize, I'm sorry.
Okay. And what date is the other one that you do not recognize?
It is July 24th, 2015. And it says DA number 12, so I'm not for sure what that means.
DA?
Yeah, DC D7991. And I guess it was at 1227. DCD is I would assume the initials.
Is that the Durham evidence custodian?
Your Honor, I'd object to the leading.
Sustained as to the leading.
Thank you.
I don't know who that person is, I'm sorry. I can't discuss, I don't know.
No problem. Otherwise, has it been resealed in a proper manner?
It appears that it has been resealed in a proper manner.
Now, can you tell me what an evidence review is and why somebody would open it for an evidence review?
Typically, before a case, the defense or the prosecution may want to go through the evidence to see what evidence is available for the trial. And I had an evidence review with the defense.
And do you see that person who you had the evidence review here in the courtroom?
I do.
And can you point him out for me?
Yes, Mr. Charles.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to go ahead and introduce State's Exhibit Number 40 into evidence.
Can I just take a peek?
Yeah.
It's right there. To refresh my recollection. Can I approach?
Yes.
Thank you.
You want me to open it?
Your Honor, this time, we're going to ask her to open State's Exhibit Number 40.
All right.
And ma'am, could you please, for the jury, tell them how you were going to open it and why you were doing so?
Okay, well first I want to make sure, because it's paper, I want to make sure I don't cut it. So I'm looking up to make sure that I see the paper somewhere else in a different location, and I do, it's here. So I'm going to cut it up here, and there, as you can see, there's no seal on this side. So I'm going to cut this side of the paper. I'm going to make a little net, a little hole. You gotta cooperate.
I'm gonna mark that as State's Exhibit number 41. And ma'am, do you, or 40A. Ma'am, do you recognize this piece of paper?
I do.
And how do you recognize that?
I recognize this as being the paper that was given to me on scene by Corporal McMaster.
And has that paper been altered in any way from the time that you originally collected it?
It does not appear so.
Your Honor, at this time I'd like to introduce State's Exhibit number 40A, which is the contents of 40 into evidence, as
No.
well as the container 40.
No objection from the defense.
What was the last thing you said about 40?
And the container 40.
Thank you. Those State's Exhibits 40 and 40A are admitted.
Your Honor, at this time I'd like permission to publish State's Exhibit number 40A.
That's allowed?
Thank you. Permission to approach the witness, Your Honor.
Yes.
Ma'am, can you please show us what we're looking at? I'm gonna ask you to place it on the Elmo here. And just if you could set it down right on here, turn it a little this way, and show us, nope, turn it, yeah, there you go. And show us what we're looking at on this piece of paper.
Okay, it appears to be a guest list in-house, and I'm assuming that this is some sort of like scrap paper, because I don't know what any of this information is relevant to. I don't know why. But the information that was important to our investigation was these numbers or letters, or they were license plate numbers that were, what was told to me was that they were written by Officer or Investigator Stewart, and they were found in his vehicle.
And does that paper have a date or time on it at all that you can see?
The only date that it has is this date up here, but it doesn't have a specific date with his handwriting now.
Okay, and what is the specific date that it has on the top of the page?
It says December 18th, 2012.
And does it have an approximate time?
Approximate 9:54:19 a.m.
And what time did you collect this piece of evidence?
Hannah, I'm going to refer to my notes if you don't mind.
That would refresh your recollection?
Yes, it will. I collected the paper at it doesn't have the time. Oh, 11:13 hours on December 18th.
Thank you. Mark State's Exhibit number 41. Commissioner Approach, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, may we approach briefly the court reporter?
to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 41. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And how do you recognize that?
It appears to be item number 9 that I collected from the scene.
And what was item number 9?
The officer's holster.
And ma'am, how do you know that that is the item that you collected on that day?
It has my signature, my official seal, my employee number, and my name.
And is that in the same or substantially similar condition to it as when you initially collected it?
It has been opened several times since I initially sealed it.
Okay, and can you tell me when and how it's been opened?
The one of the seals is from myself. The second seal is from myself, and the third is been opened by. It appears to be the same person who opened it on July 24th, 2015.
Thank you. And do you recall who was there at the evidence review when you initially opened it?
Yes, Defense Attorney Charnes.
Thank you. Your Honor, at this time I'd ask that State's Exhibit number 41 be admitted into evidence and for her to open it at this time.
Thank you. That is admitted for that purpose.
Commissioner Bergeron?
Yes, ma'am.
And then could you, for the court, tell how you're opening it and why you're doing that procedure?
Okay. This one is going to be a little more challenging. It's a little more. It's going to be a little more challenging. So it appears that there's probably only one more place I can open it where the seal won't be affected. So let's see. So I'm going to open it from the side. As you can see, there's no official seal on this side or that side.
And before you leave court today, how are you going to re-secure these items?
Well, this one may need to be repackaged, but the other one I'll reseal it on the side where I opened, and I'll put my official seal date and time as I did in the beginning, or originally. I'm changing my gloves because I don't want to like cross-contaminate anything, so I have to use best practices. This is the gun holster that was collected from 1619 Forest Road.
Now I'm going to fix a State's Exhibit number. Your Honor, the State's Exhibit number is 41A. And ma'am, is this the same but substantially similar to the condition that you received it in?
It appears to be.
And Your Honor, at this time the State would introduce State's Exhibit number 41A, the holster, into evidence.
No objection.
Thank you. State's Exhibit 41A is admitted.
Ma'am, if you permission to have her step down and publish to the jury?
Yes.
Ma'am, if you could start here, what I'm going to ask you to do is just to kind of explain what we're looking at in this exhibit.
Okay, I'm not really familiar with the function of the police holster per se, but this is the holster, so this is what actually touches the hip of the officer, and this is what would be on the outside. So, and this would be the release, which is kind of, as you can see, it's a little.
Your Honor, permission to approach with State's Exhibit number 42.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 42. I'm going to lay it down here because I know you're changing gloves for any cross-contamination. Once you get gloved up, if you could tell me if you identify that.
I identified this. This is item number 11, but what you would have saw would have been item number. It was originally item number 6 on the diagram that you saw was the chain that you saw in the photograph. And I recognize this because it has my official seal on the back. It has my name, my employee number, my initials, the date, and the report number. And it also I also have an it's been altered. I opened it again on March 10th with Defense Attorney Charms.
Your Honor, at this time I'd like to go ahead and introduce State's Exhibit number 42, the outer packaging, into evidence.
No objection.
Thank you.
Permission to have her open that package.
Permission to allow State's Exhibit 42 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, as you can see, I'm going to open it from the side that has no writing. And because it moves around as a chain, it has been packaged twice. So if you look, there's an envelope inside, and I can see that. So I'm going to open it from this angle. This envelope has also been sealed, so I'm going to open that as well.
And whose initials are those on that seal?
The initials on this seal are mine, sorry.
And did you package that?
I did, yes.
Your Honor, permission to have, to mark that as State's Exhibit number 42A.
That's allowed.
Thank you, Your Honor. And if you could open State's Exhibit number 42, please.
Sure.
Okay. And is that item that was in that envelope and the same or substantially similar condition to it when you originally packaged it both times?
It appears so, yes.
Commissioner French, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, Commissioner would mark that as item number 42B. Permission to publish.
Allow.
Thank you. If you'll step down and explain to the jury what we're looking at here with this item.
This is the chain that was found on scene by what you saw in the photographs as, and on the diagram as item was number 5 is actually number 11 in our property. And as you can see, this is where it snaps right here, and this is where it has been separated.
Your Honor, my delicate sense of time makes me look up to see the time on that clock. And I'll sit down now.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I expected that. That's why I paused.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, remember about previously, we need to not communicate with each other anyone else about the case, and not allow anyone to talk about the case in your presence. Do not talk to or have any contact with any parties, attorneys, or witnesses. Do not conduct any investigation or receive or attempt to receive any reports or information related to the case from any source. Do not form or express any opinion about this case. You'll leave your pads and pens there in your seats. At this time, while everyone else remains seated, the jury is excused until 2:30. Thank you, Sheriff. Any matters we need to address outside of the presence of the jury before we begin the lunch recess?
Yes, Your Honor, very briefly, the defense makes a motion for a mistrial for prosecutorial misconduct for admitting into evidence the text with the reference to Keogh. I have no further argument.
Thank you. That motion to strike is denied. Any other matters?
Nothing for the state, Your Honor.
All right, I previously ordered this, but I want to go ahead and get it on record that this case, this session of this court is extended, it was extended last Friday from day to day until we reach the completion of this trial. The court re-emphasizes and reorders that it continue from day to day until the completion of this trial. All right, with that being said, Sheriff will be in recess until 2:30.
Motion recess till 2:30.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.